All right, jumping over to the wide receiver position, you're starting Christian Kirk this week. You say it's time to go ahead and believe.
Yeah, last week we had him as a sit-em, and he had a stinker. That was against the Broncos, though. You know, the Broncos have one of the better defenses in terms of stopping wide receivers in the whole league. But now he's got the Raiders, all right? No team in the league has allowed more fantasy points to slot receivers than Las Vegas. And of course, Kirk runs about 65% of his routes out of the slot. So he is a very good play this week. And listen, I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster. He's been hot, right? I mean, last 2 games before the bye, 47.4 combined fantasy points. He's got a good matchup against the Titans. They've allowed 9 touchdowns and the 6th most points to wide receivers. So Juju Smith-Schuster is a pretty nice flex option during this week with 6 teams off.
All right, as far as who you're sitting one of the guys on my waiver list, actually 2 of the guys on my waiver list, not because you don't like them long-term, but because this week's matchups aren't ideal.
Right. I mean, Garrett Wilson had a big game last week, but Corey Davis was hurt. Elijah Moore's in the doghouse. It was kind of the perfect storm, and the Jets were playing from behind. Now, they may be playing from behind this week, too, and they probably will be against the Bills. But this defense can be very tough on perimeter receivers. So I wouldn't chase the points with Garrett Wilson. He's a risk-reward flex at best. And the same thing goes with Rondale Moore. He had a really good game last week. That's why, Jen, you said pick him up off the waiver wire. But I don't think I would plug him into lineups. Seattle's defense has allowed the 3rd fewest fantasy points to perimeter receivers, and they're allowing an average of just 11.3 points to slot receivers. Their defense is really tough against wideouts, so Rondale Moore is a bit of a risk. Again, with so many teams on a bye, you may have to play him. Temper expectations.